Hello, good morning, and welcome to the show. This is Invisible Ray speaking. And how are you on this fine morning? I don't know what day it is. Is it Thursday? Is it Thursday? Could be. Maybe it is. Maybe it ain't. But listen, we got to get on with the movies today. The movies. And what we're going to talk about today is a proper movie, not like the Beatles biopics, which I'm pretty sure by the time, if they ever get finished, which I very much doubt they will, um, if they ever do get finished, they ain't going to get on the cinema. I'll tell you that much. They will not be on the big screen, apart from these multiplexes where they've got about 36 screens. And, oh, you know, that one with about 20 seats, screen 15. Yeah, you know, the one where you go up the corridor, up a turret, and round the back into this dirty little alleyway. And then you see this doorway, and you go in, there's about 20 seats, and they're all moth eaten. And that's where you'll be going to see your Beatle film, like a dirty little club. But I don't think it'll happen. And by the way, if it has happened by then, it will be a really embarrassing film. Do you remember how bad Midas Man went? It was supposed to be the event of the century, and it turned into that film. And listen, there is a lot to say about Brian Epstein's private life. None of it got explored. None of it. All the names were changed. The Beatles turned into the Monkeys throughout the whole thing. Like, they act like that all the time. Hey, remember what the Beatles were like? Watch A Hard Day's Night. That's what they were like every minute of the day. No, that was embarrassing and it was stupid. But before we go into that, because this biopic, it's not of any interest to me. I know where it's going, and we will discuss these photographs, because the photographs that have been released have caused horror and outrage. But people seem to like the squidgy face Ringo bloke. Circa 1967, they say, and they're guessing that by a hat and a moustache. But anyway, we don't know. We don't know. But back to the Wuthering Heights. Now, I wouldn't normally mean to be talking to you about this sort of thing, but it's caused a lot of outrage around this house. Now, my wife, she's very much a purist. Let me just tell you about her literary loves, and she's one of the Jane Austen crowd, and that by default that also means the Bronte sisters. So she likes all that sort of stuff. And you've got to be a certain type of person, a certain type of woman, in fact, to like the Bronte novels, Mrs. Gaskell, fucking Jane Austen, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's all, I call it powdered fanny drama. You know, you've seen Pride and Prejudice a million times on TV, haven't you? But you haven't really sat down and watched it, because it's not our cup of tea, is it, lads? It's not our cup of tea. We don't like that powdered fanny stuff. But who's that bloke who used to like the Beatles? Tudor Smith, right? Tudor Smith turned from the Beatles, man, unto he turned into Utu. He turned into a Jane Austen fanatic. Yeah, I know, it's really weird, especially for blokes to be into that sort of thing, which makes me think, is he gay? But he's not. But he's just posh bloke, you know, posh bloke. You can't always second guess what they're up to, and sometimes they do come across as a little bit effete. But you know, maybe we're just getting muddled up with class, because these stories are very, very class bound. We're not going to talk about Jane Austen, obviously. We can talk about Charlotte Bronte's wonderful film, wonderful book, should I say, Wuthering Heights. Now, when I was growing up, I was aware, and I did watch the Laurence Olivier, Vivian Lee, was it Vivian Lee in there? Anyway, Laurence Olivier's in there. He's Heathcliff, and anyway, that's the famous one, the 1939. Now that's where I was in my head, because I heard the song Kate Bush, Wuthering Heights. What's this all about? About 6 months later, they showed the film. So I thought, oh, that's what it's all about. Wouldn't it have been good if Kate Bush's song had been tagged on? I thought in my 11-year-old head at the time, but I was wrong. You know, you don't want a song like that polluting what is a gothic drama, really. It's not. It's like I said. I'll tell you this quickly. It's not a love story. Now, I always had it down as a love story because the films focus on the Kathy and Heathcliff aspect, which is the juiciest part of the book. It is the juiciest part of the book. But there's actually a second generation, you know, and it's sort of, it fades out after a bit as a book, I think. I mean, I'm not a big reader of the book, but I am aware about what happens in the book, how it concludes, etc., etc. So there's been a few versions of Wuthering Heights. As I found out yesterday, there's even one American series called Wuthering High School. Can you believe it? But anyway, no, it goes down very well in America. But as you know, these days they're going to want to sex up the story, you know. And it's not. It's a nasty story. It's a very nasty story. It leaves quite a bitter taste in the mouth. So people have turned it into this love story thing. You know, they've done a good job of it. You know, you've got to remember where the story came from a middle child who we don't know a lot about, but we can assume she was a middle child because of what her observances throughout the book, what she's noticing, it speaks a lot about Charlotte Bronte, who, by the way, died very young. I think she was about 30 after her alcoholic brother Bramwell had died of morphine poisoning and all sorts of stuff brought on by drink and drugs and loose living. Yes, he was a pain in the arse. Bramwell was a pain in the arse, but he added a lot of flavour to the situation there. I think he added a bit of spice to the life of three boring sisters. Yeah, three boring sisters and a brother, and quite a gullible dad. Now, the Bronte dad was a genius. I mean, he come from like an Irish bog or something, but he worked his way through to Cambridge, become the vicar of the famous Haworth Vicarage in the Haworth part of the moors, and anyway, like so. I'm just saying this off the top of my head, what I remember, what I don't remember. Now, of course, you know, my wife, she notices all of these things, and she got furious with Anne of Green Gables because they put a black person in there. She's not racist, my wife, not much racist. She's a bit racist, but she's not much racist. She's not like on the same level as me, where we should torture all of these people before we send them back or throw them in the sea or whatever we should do. She's not quite like that, but she doesn't like people fucking with her classic fiction, and neither would I. I mean, I was so furious when they had a Pakistani David Copperfield. I mean, the big question is why? Anyway, the big fuss about all of this is, first of all, the powdered fannies are en masse moaning about this film because, guess what? Heathcliff's not black. Now, these people have usually read the book from cover to cover. They've even looked into the Bronte's background, you know, just to get an idea. They've even walked on the moors around Haworth. And they still think that Heathcliff is a black man. Is it because they want him to be a black man because they're powdered fanny lefty bitches? I don't know, but the thing is, let me just tell you all, Heathcliff wasn't black, all right? He's hinted as insults throughout the book. He's noted that he's got dark skin, so he's described as a gypsy, and in another part he's described as a Romany. Now, people don't know for sure because we don't know where Heathcliff came from, but they found him in Liverpool apparently as a young foundling, and the dad of Kathy took him home. So far, so good. First thing, when the woman sees him in the house, the mother, she said, "Oh, get him out, get it out of here, because we don't want that Jippo trash in here," or something like that. Not the word trash, but however they used to say in mid-Victorian time. Actually, it's not mid-Victorian times. It is set in 1770. That's another point we need to get to. So remember the clothes of women and men during them era. This is all set in farmland, by the way. So you know the clothes aren't going to be, you know, like you're going to get on Marie Antoinette or the madness of King George. People are going to be dressed quite simple, even if they've got money in their pocket, even if they own land, which is what the essence of this story is about. The land, Wuthering Heights, getting control of Kathy. It's all about control. It's like I said, it's not a nice story. So I'm quite happy for it to be shortened down to a love story. I liked the Laurence Olivier film from 1939. It's good. It works well. Some people might think, oh, it's a bit soppy, but no, I like it. It's good cinema, classic cinema. Also, I was quite familiar with a young Timothy Dalton version from 1970. Now, that's quite a good version as well. Like I said, it's different to the book. It focuses on the love story. Heathcliff and Kathy both die at the end of it, which isn't, you know, like I said, they do both die in the book, but there's a giant leap of a generation before Heathcliff finally does die. But like I said, Heathcliff's a complete arsehole. Kathy's a complete arsehole. These people at the time of their love are supposed to be about 17, 16, 17, 18. So young people. So this new film has got older people like in their mid-20s, early 30s sort of thing. And you think, well, come on, don't do this. This isn't Greece. You've got, I would have liked to have seen a couple of youngsters playing the parts, because then you can understand the pride and the anger of Heathcliff a lot more, because when you're 17, you're very priggy about, you know, your pride and all this sort of thing and being treated like a piece of shit. You're trying to make your way in the world. You don't want somebody taking the piss out of you. Heathcliff was constantly being told that he was a piece of shit when he was growing up in the household. Yes, these are important parts. He was not black. He was racially abused because the Romany Gypsies are a racial group. But people are just ignoring the fact that the word Romany is mentioned. Like I said, he just had a dark skin. He was assumed to have been from a Romany Gypsy background. That's all. That's all. He could have just been a dark-skinned boy. He certainly wouldn't have been black. Because I'll tell you why, if there was any black boys hanging around in the docks in 1770, and it's possible there was one or two, but most of them were transported directly to the West Indies or America to be slaves. Now, if sometimes people, it was quite fashionable about the 1880s to have like a black boy servant. So I'd get a young boy, they'd bring him over from Jamaica or whatever, and then the lady of the house would have him, you know, fetching and carrying, not doing bad jobs, you know, he's more there as a sort of piece of decoration, a fashion accessory. So you wouldn't have got a black boy walking along the docks like a foundling, because they would have been picked up straight away like a brand new Mercedes. Like, oh yes, I've got my little black boy. I'm taking him. Yeah, no, it was first stop would have been the big mansion house. Yes, have you seen my little boy? I call him Willie. He's very nice. Yes, ma'am. You know what I mean? And this sort of thing, that was like that in them days. Heathcliff was not black. All right, don't listen to anybody who says Heathcliff was black. So anyway, everyone's a bit angry about the advert because the woman playing Kathy, I don't know, she looks fucking German. But they're moaning, oh, she looks like a modern-faced woman. If there's such a thing as a modern-faced woman, yes, I think you could say that, but she certainly looks Scandinavian. She doesn't look English at all, and I wouldn't have picked her, and she wouldn't have had blonde hair. You know, I mean, we're not a nation of blondes, the English. We're not, certainly not up Yorkshire way. You know, you might get one or two. That's why I always thought Red Grant in From Russia with Love was a rubbish Irishman. You don't get blonde Irishman. Or is it another one of Ian Fleming's? Oh, he must be half Japanese and a quarter Swiss and 2/3 fucking Bulgarian. You know what I mean? I hate all that. No, he's English. He's fucking Irish. He's French, all right? He's a French man with a beret on. saying "ooh la la." So anyway, but what I say to all the people, including my wife, is accept it for what it is. It's supposed to be. I think the new film is going to be for the kids, you know, younger girls, like 15, 16-year-old girls. And if it makes them read the book, all well and good. Yes, I know it's a travesty, but what do you expect? You've got so much money. There's been a couple of TV series that do go through the second generation, but like I said, it fizzles out as a book. Heathcliff dies, and that's about it. You know, it's sort of, you could say it's happy endings, but it isn't really, because there's been about 20 odd years of about 40 years of 60 years, if you like, 60 years of hell at fucking Wuthering Heights. Wuthering Heights, far more depressing than Uncle Monty's cottage, I would have said. But listen, I'm not going to watch it because, like I said, I've seen all the versions I want to see. It's a soppy girl story, and I, you know, I just let my wife watch it. She can complain about it. Like I said, there's other things to worry about. What about James Bond? This is what we should be worried about, not Wuthering Heights. I couldn't give a fuck. But I just thought I'd talk about it because, you know, it's out there and it's an important subject. Anyway, on to the Beatles. Well, I must say, I've sat there just looking at some of these videos of people that, you know, they don't know quite what to make of the Beatles biopics, and you know, it does look bad. It looks really bad, and I think it's the reason it's going to fail. There's so many different reasons it's going to fail. It's a project that they couldn't wait for the other two Beatles to die to start, because, like I said, you don't know the way things are going. The Beatles are going to be about as popular as Pol Pot's fucking anus in about 2 years' time, just because of this, because of that, because of their marketing. You know, they're fucking everybody off now, and I don't think they can actually get new fans. If you look at the chart positions of their latest outpourings of fucking Beatle crap, you'll see that, you know, this stuff isn't charting well. It's not selling brilliantly. People are sort of humming and hawing about it. Now, that would have never have happened in the anthology days, would it? The excitement, the Beatles at the BBC, the excitement. You know what I mean? And I've never been happy with the Beatles at the BBC, but I thought, well, yeah, I'm glad it's fucking out there released, because I'm not like Matthew Street and the other geezer who are always getting the bootlegs or the fan club records, because, like I said, I never knew the places to go. I couldn't, you know, I could only go to my local record shop, and he gave me one Beatles bootleg. I think it was called 10 by 4. It wasn't very good. I might have seen some of the Beatles at the BBC bootlegs at record markets at stupid prices. So I thought, no, I don't want them. And anyway, all the records that were at the back, I thought, I've already got these in perfect condition without all this BBC crap. And I mean, they are crap recordings, aren't they? If you ever want to hear the Beatles singing Hound Dog or anything like that, it's not a pretty sight. It's not a pretty sight. But anyway, like, I had to laugh when I see these photographs of the Beatles from this film. Like, they're all too old to be the Beatles, for starters. Paul McCartney's got a squidgy nose. Ringo's just like a fucking caricature. And I mean, I shudder to think what Yoko looks like. And like I said, I've got nothing more to say about this. I'm gonna go and get myself a nice cup of coffee. I'm gonna sit down, smoke a cigarette, and then I'm just gonna do whatever. But I've had enough of talking about this, so I'll be back soon, one day. Goodbye. How do I leave this studio? No, I've got to finish this first.